Good day. This is Regina's Rabbit Hole Siren Buddha Medicine, and we are talking about the social distancing.
We are talking about social distancing. This is Full of Wisdom 7. You can catch me on Instagram. I'll be there shortly. At a post near you.
We were just in this really heated conversation about the social distancing, and we didn't want you to miss it because we thought some of this information would be vital depending on where you are. Let's go.
So basically, we're trying to identify now with the coronavirus that is set forth with the social distancing. And so I was telling, we was discussing the facts about in the 1960s, before Martin Luther King came to try to integrate us as we segregated. There was a law that was put forth that we could not be no closer than 7 feet to someone. That's social distancing. We was not allowed to be 7 feet within, of those that was in charge with the system at that particular time.
This was during slavery?
No. This right here was coming before the civil rights. When Martin Luther King came through and we was walking, we couldn't be within 7 feet.
Segregation.
Before segregation. That's why integration came in, because the laws were so unfair.
So be specific. When was it that we had to be 7 feet apart? What were the conditions and why?
From my recollection, I'm very vague on that. I just know that there was a 7 feet distance before integration set forth. When the segregation law, before the integration laws were implemented, segregation stand for, and there was a social distancing laws that were put in place. Where does it stand? Where did it go until that law was put into perfection and it was changed? We couldn't stand it. That's why
we have to be 7 feet apart from white people or each other?
It wasn't us, of course not. It was white people.
Oh, okay.
You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It was white people. Just like when we was walking down the street, we couldn't look at, we couldn't stare into their faces,
mm-hmm.
and we couldn't. And when we laugh, what do we have to do?
We just put your face in a bucket.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. No, not about anything that you couldn't look no one in the face.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So
you
these
couldn't
things,
show your happiness.
Right, absolutely, and these why we said we was being unfair.
But, I always thought that was strange that our happiness bothered people that felt like they owned us so much that they didn't even want to see us happy. That their security was seeing us miserable mm-hmm. and at dis-ease. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that was okay. So we had to do that 7 feet apart back then, and now let's bring it to now. We got this 6 feet social distancing.
We do have the 6 feet, and like we're so afraid to go back into our past, but we'll go back into our past of trauma, but we don't go back into the initial trauma. You know what I'm saying? That was done to us physically, and the trauma has done to us mentally.
So people are not really talking.
Of course.
Like, okay, when we see the Jewish people talk, so the other Jewish people talk, and they always bring up the Holocaust and other things that happened to them, and we get to see that annually. You know what I'm saying? Every year we get to see things that happen to them during a certain time, right?
I would say daily, if you ask me.
So the reminder is there, and they feel that their worth as a people is that to the fact that they can remind other people across the world of the atrocities that were done to them. However, when it comes to melanated people, we don't feel like we have the same value or right to do that.
But
the point that I'm trying to make is that as far as that's concerned, we're not speaking. Okay? When we can talk about how devalued we are and just talk about slavery and how much we're not okay as a people, but when it talks about that particular part, how it happened and who did it to us, and pointing a finger at them, the act of choosing to claim our value back as a people and to make it known, right? As that's a group thing, you know what I'm saying? That's a healing thing that they do as a group. We don't have that, so we're silent in that area. Fast forward to right now.
But before you go there,
mm-hmm.
When you say as a group of people, you're talking about as a nation of people. We've lost that, and I have to say we're doing a pretty good job at trying to come
regroup
back.
That now,
right? But it's only going to be selective few. Pretty much, in my opinion, in the last 50 years, I see people that really is with the system. No one wants to negate the system. I mean, you will lose all the privileges, even though we say here in America, we're so, even the poorest person is privileged compared to third country, regardless of what. Everybody wants to be here, not necessarily right now, but if you go around and take a survey of how many people want to still come, they still want to come here, regardless of what.
There's a remnant that the Most High chose, but other groups are still going to have to live until it's time to die.
Yeah.
So we need to remember that everybody is not a part of that particular group, and they still have to live until it's time to leave. Okay.
Yeah. I think the social
I
deadness.
did want to get to that 6 feet thing with the silence before we get off of that. Now, this is where the mask, a lot of people are realizing that it's equating to not speaking, to being silent. That there's a lot of subliminal equations to what's going on now with the 6 feet and the mask, to being silent, to having that, like you said, the distancing from back then, to the, what is it, problem solution?
I mean, conflict resolution?
Right, conflict.
Conflict resolution?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, to sit down, I think now, like, we can't, the way I see it, we can't blame them. We can just take information and go there. I think that we need to establish what is the physical, mental, and the spiritual aspect of when we start to deliver. When we go into the mental, we're talking about basically metaphysics. We cannot compare metaphysics to the physical, what is tangible. But what I'm saying to you, Renee, when we say physical, the physical is the matter. We see it right there. We go into a middle, we're talking about some outer space stuff. For us as black people, we start to take on other people's philosophies and ideologies, and we don't go to the basic, what's called physical, mental, and spiritual. That's it. When you take that, you can examine. I picked this up physically. Oh, I can pick that up mentally. I felt that through my soul spiritually. Where are we going with this? Now, we take it and make it broad, and you start to generalize to different cultures, and we leave our own culture. We're so embedded with other people's culture. You understand that now we really lose it because now it's social dissonance. So now instead we can really be close and like really gatherings, but when you had a million people that's doing what's true and right, later for everything else, just doing what's right. In the eyes of the Most High seeing us, do you know what strength is? So now we're definitely weakened and dilute, and this shit coming at us full steam. And I think that we're trying to beautify something that's just done. All that beauty shit is done. All fat people get ready to get skinny. And all people sick people get ready to die. You understand what I'm saying? Unless we change the ways and move forth.
Being metaphysical doesn't mean that you're being out of your culture. However, it does seem like it's been normalized for melanated people not to have a certain degree of intellect within our culture, which is a total lie, because that's the basic and the foundations where philosophy and intellect come from, is our culture, okay? From Kemet and Egypt and the Hebrew Israelites, and from the, look at all the different doctrines across the world, and it emulated many of it from us. So what I want to say, as far as looking at things from a different angle, we're wearing masks that subliminally are saying to us not to speak. That a lot of people are realizing that we're breaking into two groups. Those who believe the hype and that will just follow along with the normal conditioning and do what they're told because they don't want to make waves and they believe everything that's said to them. And the other group that is not wearing the mask, to that degree, because they realize what's going on and they're the ones speaking and educating people about corona and things like that. Okay, so the other thing too is the 6 feet. Now, you reminded, let me make this equation. What they're doing is magic, okay? And there's spiritual, mental, physical. That's one way that you can triangulate in on something. Or, you look for 3 angles or 4 angles to either square something or triangulate in on something. And one of the ways that we do this is that through our unawareness, you leave something open. It's like leaving a gap that something else can stand in that space. Because of our unawareness, something else can be aware and harness that energy. So that's one of the faculties that they're using. So let's look at this situation again. On one hand, we're seeing that we're wearing the mask, which is messing up the herd immunity. The 6 feet is messing up the herd immunity as far as us being able to exchange bacteria with each other through breathing that actually raises our body's resistance as a group of people within a society. That's being tampered with through the mask and through the isolation, people having to stay inside. So that's taking our rights away and putting stress on us through freedom. That's one aspect. That's one peg. Wait, I gotta make this. I gotta make these connections because I'll forget. Okay? So that's one aspect of it. The other one is spiritual, where if you're a part of the Get Along gang or if you're a part of the ones who are speaking, okay? And then there's the 6 feet thing. Part of this thing with the mask was I noticed the white and black tug of war. At one point, we were talking about the DNA of melanated people being stronger, and that, to fight viruses and how, the sun adapts to us and stuff like that. It was a lot of biological stuff going on, and we were saying we were more resistant to the corona. And then that switched, the whole narrative switched, and all of a sudden, Caucasian people started putting a narrative out there that black people were susceptible more to a lot of diseases, and then the corona was attacking people with regular biology conditions, and therefore black people who usually had high blood pressure and diabetes and things like that would be more susceptible than white people. So that started to be the narrative, that black people would carry the corona more than white people. So we have this tug of war. So you add all the stuff that we talked about together, and then you put the 6 feet, and you put in how lack of knowledge, those speaking are in the know, pretty much. And those with the mask on are not. They're following along. And then you have that energy there and the narrative. I almost lost my point for a second. What happens is you're talking about slavery, and according to the straw man.
Who's the straw man?
The straw man is the person that doesn't know that they're owned by society, by our government. Everybody has a copy to them, okay? And you got to look it up, because that's a whole nother concept to go into.
Absolutely. So we talk about social, 6 feet, this and then.
Yeah, but let me make this connection.
Well, you hurry up, because you done dominated
this. No, you can't tell me to hurry up when it's this complex, because our people need to know this, and that's what this is here for. Okay. Now, let me finish this. Within the straw man, we're talking about the legal system, okay? And we're talking about a lot of rules and stuff being broken right now, as far as the vaccines being tested and all this other stuff that our government is telling us to do and be compliant with, that other people don't agree with, that are so-called knowing and unknowing. Now, in a court of law, 3/4 black people are considered 3/4% of the law. They have no 3/5 or 3/4. They have no standing at law. They're not considered a complete person, truly. So part of that reason when I was studying was the differentiation between a living person and a dead person is knowledge. So if you're ignorant and you don't know, that means that you're dead. If you are a knowing person, you have the currency, that means you're alive. So look at the 6 feet and the people wearing the mask and not wearing the mask, and the 6 feet deep. So we're getting a lot of the dead thing, the corporate and the corpse.
What's the synopsis?
And the corona.
What's the narrative on what you're saying?
The magic is how I just explained to you, even though it was very difficult and choppy to listen to. Okay? How they triangulate in on the unconscious mind, in our unknowingness, and attack the psyche by attacking the body. We're attacked physically, spiritually, and mentally within that whole scenario that I just explained to you from these different angles. You can even put
So let me
square that.
Right. So let's use this right here.
And that's the magic that's going into our unconscious mind and making us submit to this frequency right now that's killing people because it's hitting us from all these different angles as a society.
Needham Fuller, I'm gonna use Needham Fuller said it great, and I have to agree with him. This particular European or the system. Let me just use the system. It's the greatest sophistication. It's so sophisticated. It's not going to last long. So even for myself, there's only one way that I see it. I'm not going to go there. But when we theorize, because that's what everybody's doing. No one has no fact, especially, and I say I'm black, as a black person, how the hell I know that I don't have any insights to what's going on in the government, so all I can do is say, they might be doing this, they might be, it's like pick the door. Door number 1, door number 2, number 3. Now, I don't think I'll pick any of those doors. I think I'll go my way through another way that I have that I won't even begin to discuss. But on the surface, everyone, especially tubers and streamers every time, is nothing but theories. The only fact that you catch that corona, some shit gonna happen. Oh, it's gonna happen this way, that way. Oh, we conscious what? Because if you was really conscious, for me, and getting the information, we started off that back before civil rights was implemented, there was a 7 feet social deal. Why nobody's talking about that? That's a serious one. So we don't equate 7 feet social distance and now 6 feet? In 50 years, because what they do that we don't do, we don't have a system so that in 50 years from now, we're going to be doing it. We're going to stick to that. We're never going to change it. China got it. Russia got it. Every other country got it. Every nation of people, even Iraq, they got things that they plan. China have a plan they do for 25 to 50 years, up to 250 years, that they're still practicing. What the hell we practice? Oh, the answer is, listen, I'm not claiming anybody. All I'm going to do is take information, most current information, and stay out of areas I really don't know, but deal with those facts. To the simple fact that we don't know from 193 AD into the Renaissance era, we practically rule. Darker people, us, no, rule. And because when we talk about Greek and Roman was ruling, you had the barbarians, the Vikings. Those are darker color. When somebody say you barbarian, those are darker colored people that we don't even know because they cannot let us know history. We start getting into, and guess what? We was not following the laws of truth and sexual misbehavior and ideology. To this day, right now, we still practice it. And we claim on. I'm not claiming Egyptology is out for me, but you can rock with it. There is information. In every culture, there's information.
Whether you like it or not, this culture is embedded in all those old
It doesn't make it up, but we have been stripped.
We live in every day.
Listen, who told us, let me ask you, who told us we was conscious? What person said we're conscious? The Egyptology told us we're conscious? Seriously?
It's in realizing what's going on that makes you conscious.
Yeah, but what's going on with us? We're getting fucked left and right. Hold up. We're so conscious that...
It all starts with a thought. And if we think that metaphysics doesn't apply
I never said that. But we're taking metaphysics...
When we first started, you did.
No, I started off... When I first came into so-called conscience, I went with all the conscious peoples. And all I seen was a lot of sexual misconduct, cheating, just like pimps and hoes and everything else.
What were you looking for? If it's magnetism...
Freedom! You're looking for freedom, or why is this happening to me as a melanated brother? Why am I fighting with my sister to the point of death? To the point of total hatred, not only from the sister, from the kids, but... When I go biblically, it tells me why. So I don't go there with my people because as soon as you go there at the right end, come on, you don't.
It's one thing to know something. It's another thing to do something about it.
You can't listen. When you try to go to your people, and if you're not in a point of repentance, and I'm not even going to go there with that. If you go on a metaphysics does not teach you repentance. All it does is just take your mind to another place where you can't handle.
Those are word games. Metaphysics teach you how to do correction if you're looking for correction. And you're talking about...
That's not... I'll beg to differ. You know why? Because you have to bring me one case study where a person doing metaphysics, right? And because that's going to make you perfect. Because when you're doing something perfect...
anything about perfection?
Well, what I'm saying is anything that we do is strive for it, right? That's the whole point of living. Betterment, same thing.
Betterment is to know that you're not going to be perfect. You're striving for betterment. And that's in realizing that you can relax. You don't have to be right about everything. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to control.
So,
you can just live.
Absolutely. But when we say perfect, and certain things you gotta be perfect in this life. When you breathe or when you walk, you have to be perfect. Not something we have to. It's a certain way to live to be perfectly breathing, but you better be perfect in breathing it out, because if not, you will die. Certain things, if you're not walking perfectly,
But you don't have to think about breathing, do you?
no, and that's what I'm
So
saying.
then that would be more
Natural.
like the tree of life rather than the tree of knowledge.
Right. So
Exactly.
in social, and right now we're dealing with this thing.
So
called
that's what
social
I'm
distance.
talking about. Right? That breathing, you don't have to think about it, but that is going to be something beneficial.
Well, right again, but I think
You
What
don't
we're trying
have
to
to
pin about
utilize
being perfect.
breathing
right.
to be perfect to the point where it's going to lead you over into technologies that just drive you crazy or cause harm to somebody else.
Yeah, when looking at the word perfect, what does it mean? Does it mean the absolute or not? And that's what metaphysics
The word perfect is very dangerous.
The word when we say metaphysics, people actually start believing. Oh, remember in our time there was a physical thing when they said physically the people, children of Israel, walked through and the sea came through. Is that metaphysics or is that for real? Then y'all come down to the Red Sea and open that whole big sea up, or is that a metaphysics? And that's where it struggles. Did he open up that sea? Did the children of Israel, us, walk through there? And was it only the children of Israel that came through until the promised land? Is that a true story? Or do we go into metaphysics? So now every culture that goes in there going to tell that story different. And when it comes to us, we don't have a story because it's been stripped from us because we dare not speak about a couple of hundred years ago. My grandfather was getting beat on his back, tired about that. We can't talk about it. But every single culture, even the Buddha's a black man. Every single culture, those are all derived from black melanated people. Because if we don't like it, how true.
As I was stating, the spiritual systems and stuff that
absolutely, but we don't know how to utilize because we take on every other nationality. We don't even first begin to try to know us. So we take on all these things that we invite.
Ken, if we built it, then when we go to retrieve it, wouldn't it look like somebody else's when it's ours?
No, but how are you going to achieve something when you don't have a foundation? We don't have no foundation. We're doing of everything. Somebody said we go where the wind blows. Listen, when you see brothers fighting sisters and sisters fighting brothers, and we don't take the time to examine and say, hold up, man, let's stop throwing we're throwing stones. We're pushing people off of mountains. I'm talking about, and we think it's just no, it's households throughout America, in New Orleans, up and down the coast. And we're not talking about dumb people. We can stop today.
Oh, what about the 6 feet? How does this apply to it?
It weakens us because if we can't get together in truth and spirit and love, it's going to do two things. Either it's going to keep us, it's going to go us farther apart, or it's going to put us together. I believe y'all's coming and doing a separation, and it's right up under our nose, And I don't go into him. I just go on the surface of what we talking about right now.
So is the separation between people who know and people who don't know?
I think that the 1/10, they're doing what they're supposed to do. They on their job. The rest of the people are living in confusion and selling their souls. A person that say they ain't selling their soul, I ain't selling my soul, you're most definitely selling your soul.
How so?
Because if you're not doing what is right, if you pick your rights, you're picking your rights, and more likely they're wrong. Someone else will have to pick out and show you what you're doing. But you won't take it and go into prayer and say, can you help me fix this? And we get deep into it until we become old and cruddy, and then our mind becomes reprobated. For me, that social distance that they did, we didn't even know about the 7 feet. So just go and look it up and just take it from there. It's not bad nor good. We won't get our scholars. Why did they do that and why is it now? Because they had a plan. And it's about 50 years. Every 50 to 60 years, things change. The generations are 25 to 50 years, there's a new generation. For us, it's younger. 15 to 30 to 45. Seriously?
So what do you think they're implementing?
They're already implementing. It's not what they're already implementing for destruction of those who are not free. That means that you can
What does 7 feet to 6 feet have anything to do with destruction?
It dilutes us for when they're coming, because now that you put that distance between us, if something break off, how do we start as churches and gatherings that we do if we're in little spots? Like how many people in the house now? The census is coming back strong. These are little things that we don't think about. We're so busy fighting and doing hair and nails and butts and all that stuff. What happens when all that stuff diminishes? When you ain't gonna have a problem, you have no choice but just to be whoever you are, and all that other shit, you're gonna be like, how we gonna get through? When that fear comes, when you ain't got the Most High, you ain't gonna be able to go to Egyptology. You're not gonna they already shut down the public schools.
So will you feel kind of like dead?
Shit, dead. When you said, now let's talk about Barry. That's when you said the 6 feet. We're
6
already
feet deep.
dead. If those who don't come alive and understand, don't try to take this TV
You
shit.
have to be at least 6 feet deep.
You can say however deep you say it is, and play with that.
Isn't that what you hear when you hear about
Well, if you don't every 6 feet, it'll surface back up. So that's why they do it 6 feet and under. But what I'm saying right now, this shit that's going on, they don't listen. Look what they done did to the sports arena, right? Look what they done did to boxing. You only got shouts. So where all the people are. If you get caught now with more than 10 to 50 people in a group, that's a felony charge, huh? And one thing about us, we're so spiritual and we're so strong.
So who gave those people the right to take our rights away?
What do you mean?
Who told them that they could tell us what to do?
The Most High has given that command. That's what I think.
Really?
Absolutely. I can back that up in Scripture. You go into Isaiah, I believe 45 and 7. He said, "I form light and I form day." You know what I'm saying? He said, "I created evil, and I created good." So he had to create the evil to fruit out those who want to be deceitful, sit around and close the door thinking
No,
the Most High.
I mean that is definitely another dimension that you're bringing up, right? Okay, so that is the aspect that the hour is now for the shifting of wheat from the tares, and the Most High did appoint that time to allow, to allow for certain things to happen to people.
Yeah, but we need to go into the Egyptology, the other, but not.
I didn't mention anything about Egyptology at the moment.
But what I'm saying to you, when you go into metaphysics, that is Egyptology. You're going into Einstein and all these other ones, Darwinism, all that stuff right there, all ties in because it can't support.
That's Revelations, Ken.
No,
it's not Egyptology. But they take that from Kemet, and they take that from the ancient books, and they have stolen and coveted our culture and then left us oblivious.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the facts of the matter of one standing alone and the other one.
Actually, we are. We're talking about the difference between the knowing and the non-knowing.
Absolutely.
And how that separates the dead from the alive. That's
right.
the point that I was making.
But when we talk about dead and alive, how you view that? Are you going to view that on the physical or the mental?
Now we're getting metaphysical, aren't we?
But to identify.
And that's the point that I'm making, is that it all starts with a thought, and that we need to be thinking a lot more.
Are we?
Yes.
How so?
Because it's the time of awakening, and there's a lot of information out right now.
Indeed.
And so the same way that a lot of people don't know about the 7 feet before, I didn't know that there was anything about 7 feet before, and that brings a different aspect, like the triangulation I was talking about, or the squaring. That brings a whole nother aspect of history and dimension to what we were talking about with the social distancing.
Yeah, but you have a clear understanding.
And how they're doing magic on us.
Yeah, but you
and
keep it basic.
Subliminally, magic works. A lot of times people do it on themselves through the unconscious mind.
That's
subliminally.
what I was talking about. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Especially now, I don't want to get into a woman or a man thing, but for women, they're more susceptible. Why? Because they have things that have what? I don't want to be too derogatory, but they have the vagina, right? And so with that, and when they're dealing with something, that means that never comes out of them. So they have more holes than we do. You see what I'm saying? They're more susceptible to trickology. You know what I'm saying? I just used that word too. From what I'm seeing, and we'll get like, oh, they don't know. They're shooting cats down like there's nothing, but they're also shooting our sisters down on a mental aspect. You understand what I'm saying? Well, brothers are now, if you take a man and raise him for 50 years primarily not without the father, no history. You understand what I'm saying? No moral, just go and get that money through a certificate or a degree, not entrepreneurship, and you get one out of there. You got your people on you like ants on a candy apple. And he can't even begin to breathe or even try to have no knowledge. And we have no elders, really. Where's our last great elders? Our YouTubers? Are you serious? Some brothers come away and make up something and say it's this and that. I'm not going for none of that. I can entertain it. I think it's great that we have the jungle fever type of thing. And when I say jungle fever, I'm talking about not that. I'm talking about the jungle fever and the thirst to find out who we are. But you have to understand, we're wrong, and we're looking more pitiful to me. Because now they already know that. They don't want to harm. They know all about our history. Bottom line is, We know who we are, but we're not doing nothing about it. And it's not going to happen, not this particular time. But if you have an individual, to me, a positive thought, like I just watched something and it said about, you knew that there was 7 feet there. I was like bugged out. And it was great because now you share with the community. And that's what we should be doing, you know? What is positive, you know? Who we really are. Did we rule through those Middle Ages and all that ages, the Dark Ages? What is it really all about? Plagues been coming throughout the beginning of mankind. You know? Where did the dinosaurs die from?
Do you know what separated man from animals during these times?
Diseases.
No.
What?
Man and animals both got diseases.
But I just said diseases.
I said what separated man and animal during this time, not what made us the same.
What separated us, we was always dominant. We know we was always dominant, but at that particular time, they were eating the shit out of anything. They were just wild savages. At that time, it wasn't no civilization. It was uncivilized, so anything there was just fair game.
So what makes us civilized?
Huh?
What makes us civilized?
Obedience. Laws make us civilized. Law, period. Without law, there's no civilization. There's no law in the jungle. What? No.
Law does not make us civilized.
Okay, take away law.
How do you explain them having the right to get away with killing us if law makes us civilized?
What do you mean they don't? It's no.
The very people enforcing law on these streets
we're not talking about that.
are uncivilized.
We understand that.
Okay, so the point I'm making: what makes animals
and
man different that makes us civilized?
Because they're lawless.
Let me answer it. No.
You asked me a question. You can't answer the
law,
question.
No. If you're enforcing law.
You asked me.
Okay, first of all, just like Darwinism, there was a time when if they thought that you were an imbecile, you didn't have the rights to certain things.
But I don't
right now,
Darwinism,
excuse me, 3/4% of the law, is that lawful that because you have melanated skin that you should, but you just said that. What I was talking about, excuse me, the thing that makes us different from animals that is humane is medicine.
No, you asked me a question.
It's medicine and healing.
All right, I hear that.
And a question
right.
that you answered.
That's a part. That's just a part. Because it's more than healing and medicine.
Ken, the thing that makes humans and animals different is that we can heal ourselves.
I understand. So animals can't heal themselves?
No.
Okay, so they don't get a cut and lick their wound? Because they remember when we was younger.
Actually, this is something that I actually recently learned about. And even with all the psychology, it made perfect sense. Okay?
I understand. I never
Animals will die before they can heal themselves because they'll get eaten in the wild.
I don't mean to.
Humans have some other human to come pick them up and bandage them up, okay? And they know medicine to heal them and put the bandages on. And they will tend to them so that they don't get eaten and succumb to the wild. And that's what.
But the question that
you're not allowing me to answer it.
But you're going to another whole tangent.
No, I'm not.
Are you going to play the tape?
And that's what makes us humane.
Okay.
Is to be able to allow ourselves to care about others and heal them.
So why don't you just tell me, if you ask me a question and then give me the answer, why don't you say, hey, did you know this? It means this right here.
You started answering it on your own, and then I just allowed you to do whatever it was you doing.
You said, do you know the difference between human, which I said.
You're responsible for your own answers.
Okay, so they're going to listen to this. I hope you don't play because you asked me a question.
This is not a competition.
But who's talking about, you asked me, if you doing this and you ask me a question, I answer a question, you take, you're out of order. So what I'm saying to you is...
No, I'm not out of order. Actually, I handle your personality quite well. We were talking about 6 feet.
Okay, but before you go, the question to my question, you said yours, my answer to it, not yours, and like-minded, and that's okay.
Okay.
I think that the difference between humans and animal is they have no law. There's no law, there's nothing in there. They can do whatever, anything goes in the jungle. That's why I say Jungle Brothers. Because when you're on your YouTube, you can say anything you want. There's no penalties. They just ban you. You understand what I'm saying? In the jungle, there's no law, but we have law. And here, if we break that law, a couple of things happen. That without law, there's no existence of mankind. In my belief system, this is small. If you are lawless, you can't even begin. You better repent. And if you don't even begin to try to go, you can take it and then pull out like Darwinism theory and I understand. You can take all that, yes, and it doesn't negate on this surface here. But it has been proven without law, there's nothing. When it first was established that man came into law, that's when civilization began and was taught into Egyptology, all that. Before Egyptology, they were just doing whatever. You know, so, I mean, that's an argument, and that's just for like-minded people. I won't go there. But when you come and I look at our argument metaphysics, I would agree with it. but you won't have me going like in like a million different directions. I think that's what, the two of us. So no disrespect to you, but we're training, right? And for me, this is what, for me, when I'm coming on, I like to be facts like, okay, man, they shooting our brothers down. Not saying, well, they shot us down, but it was like, you can't metaphysics that. That's a physical shot. So I like to stay in those particular contexts: man, woman, dog, child, black, white, green, blue. And the fact is, the system is that we're so lost trying to be sophisticated that it's wrong, that all we gotta do is go right back to the basics like everybody else.
We're capable of healing ourselves. We're capable of finding the knowledge to be able to heal others. And this is Siren Buddha Medicine, Regina's Rabbit Hole. It's an attempt to be able to do that, to heal others and to heal ourselves. Being the wounded healer, acknowledging that we've been wounded and acknowledging that we want to be healed, and share the information that we have.
And once again,
that's a part of being alive, is knowledge. That's what differentiates ourselves between wanting to grow and learn and be useful, and be part of the help that I want to see, versus complaining and just sitting there and being a hindrance, or a part of the problem in the system that we have here, looking for somebody else to always be the solution and never having any kind of contribution.
So what are positive things you think?
That is positive.
No, I'm saying, what are the positive things pointing out to the
about
rules?
The mask?
Just in general.
The
what
6
are
feet?
Yeah, I mean, just in general. Like, we just, obviously we had...
All right, one thing that I've noticed that for some of us those of us who are thinking, I noticed that we're actually doing more talking with the freaking mask on. There are certain people that have always looked around, have always looked in other people's eyes, have always started conversation, have always been inquisitive, have always been friendly, have always been helpful. And those people didn't change because they have a freaking mask on. And I noticed that if I'm in a line or whatever, and I have my little mask on or whatever, and I make eye contact with those particular people, they're always there for the joke or for that little piece of conversation or knowledge, but that's increased. And I think that that's the magic of it. That and it's like the compensation that nature does, that's also that threefold thing: spiritual, mental, and physical. Like, they can block it off in one area, but the Most High will allow it to seep through in another. So there's that adaptation and compensation that happens. That's magic. And so that would be something that I think is positive that's happening right now, is that although some people are still hiding behind their masks and confusion and being compliant with vaccine rules and laws and certain things that are going on that are unlawful, really, when they've taken our rights away and said that they had a right to. People are becoming aware of that, and so they're becoming awake and they're becoming alive in that, starting a new frequency throughout the different communities and stuff, and some people who were oblivious at one time. So that's something positive too.
Do you think that the anxiety level of the people here now in this Corona 2020, nearing off to the end of the year, what do you think their status is as far as just their stability level?
Repeat that again.
How are the people having anxiety right now? Now,
I see people kind of falling apart right now.
Okay. Now, compare that to last year.
But one thing that is fascinating that I find that's kind of interesting to me is that they're looking for non-traditional medicine in order to cope with the high stress and the which leads to disease.
Do you think that they didn't format that? That's what we'd be headed at anyway. And
of course they did.
So, do you think that everything that they're doing right now, they're not taking a good darn look at it, especially the YouTubers or those who have a full thing to say, and within a certain period of time, do you think that will fold just like everything else?
Everything has its end and beginning.
I'm just talking about what's
I
going on
just
right
answered
now.
that.
Okay.
But I think, that could go either way. On one hand, it would make sense to keep that there, to capitalize on it for different reasons, and to allow the community to speak to one another so that we could grow.
Do you think we have grown as a people?
Yeah.
Now, I would ask that.
I think that's why it's being attacked, is because it is a tool that's allowing us to grow and not just be stupid.
So when you think that people are looking at us right now, white America, or just America's looking at us from every East Indian, or Asian population, or African population, the world is looking at us, me and you, us black people, right now. What do you think they're saying? In your honest opinion.
What an inquisitive conversation. From Siren Buddha Medicine, Regina's Rabbit Hole, on YouTube. You can like, subscribe, and share. Please donate. Much love to you and yours, and thanks for joining us.